Spectrum. Mr. Green checked his watch. Surely they were not going to be this late. The illuminated display of his watch read 6:01 a.m. and gave off a faint glow in the early morning fog of Washington, D.C. He had been given a fax that required him by order of law to have coffee, 7 a.m. sharp at the downtown Starbucks, but there was not a sign of the sender's name. He was sitting at an outside table, suspecting some government agency to show up and whisk him off to one of their secret facilities to be questioned. He was prepared. He had switched his top button for a microphone-camera combo. At least he could be examined later. Walter Matthau Green was a salesman who sold trade secrets of dominating superpowers to the top-paying underdog at a bargain. He bargained won wars for his money-rigged battles. His work was precise, and his income was laundered at a diversity of shell corporation banks in China. Due to the country's extreme trade rate, Walter's bustling information business was a brick in the wall, albeit a wolf in sheep's clothing. Grossing over $5 billion annually, the Lord of War staffed over 50 talented entrepreneurs with talents ranging from business to special operations warfare. Needless to say, Walter was set. The next government official, he knew the ins and outs of trading war crime for a winning profit. Middle Eastern factions in the oil industry bought lucrative and table-turning intelligence for millions of dollars, in turn winning wars. Although many situations were incredibly dangerous, he never suffered a single casualty. From selling the upper hand to destroying the opponent, one man controlled war and peace. At exactly 6:05 a.m., a jet-black Cadillac appeared at the curbside. Green surreptitiously turned his lapel toward the license plate. The car was presumably undercover, but it screamed government with its tinted windows and the rumble of the V8 under the bulletproof hood. A suited man holding a briefcase and wearing dark sunglasses stepped onto the curb. Immediately the car sped off, probably to wait around the corner, Green thought. The suited man nodded at him. You're early. The name's Stennett. Nick Stennett. He smiled broadly as they shook hands. Let's go inside, Green said. Mr. Stennett was told to look for a man with short gray hair, a black suit, and a light blue tie. Strangely enough, it was that exact outfit that Green was wearing. They walked inside to the warm smell of roasted beans, ordered coffees, and took a seat at a secluded table. Stennett took off his glasses and gave another one of his toothy grins. Morning. So having a good day? Yes, other than being forced to come here after a 13-hour flight from Beijing, my day has been fine. Nick's smile faltered. But you must have had a good flight, he said with apprehension. It was splendid. Listen, do you want information or not? Because if not, I might as well be on my way back to China. The guys back home were right. You're definitely Walter Green. Do you know how much trouble we've had tracking you down? How long did it take? 10 years. And we find you because some peasant tips us off in Shanghai, he said in a loud whisper. Walter then asked, and who exactly is we? We, Mr. Green, is the reason why you are here. Ah, so you guys have been monitoring me. I thought so, Walter pondered. Not only have we been monitoring you, we know more about you than you think, Stennett said. He pulled out a black leather briefcase and took out a file. In bold, faded letters, the title Walter M. Green stretched across the front. Stennett pulled out a page that looked much newer and had Walter's 13 different passports information. Green raised his eyebrows. You know, I'm not surprised, but I have a question. If you have been tracking my every move, why is it taking you 10 years to find me? That's the point of this little reunion, Stennett answered. When you were with us 10 years ago, working as senior executive chief, you knew everyone there by first name. As soon as you retired at age 48, we became suspicious. You were getting about 200 grand a year by sitting at a desk. Our question was, why did Walter Green retire? I retired because I cared for my family, he fiercely whispered. Family meaning your divorced wife and son in the Navy, Nick retorted. Mr. Green, not only did you retire from a job that many would only dream about, but we also received information about a man named Theodore Short who departed from Washington, D.C. the very next day. Guess who that was? Walter sighed. Me. Exactly, and where did you go? You took a direct flight to Murmansk, Russia. Remember when Rick Turner was the president of the Nuclear and Conventional Weapons Department? He was a big shot at the time you were in office, actually interviewed by the president himself. Stennett paused. Suddenly Walter panicked. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the waiter with an all-too-obvious sneer and giveaway bulging muscles walking hastily towards them. He was 1 foot from the table. The waiter pulled out a pen and opened his mouth as if to speak to Walter. Walter knew better. He rose quickly, knocking over his coffee. He felt his arms twist upwards behind him, and the click of handcuffs was heard. Nick stood up and straightened his suit. He frowned and said, "Walter Green, you killed Rick Turner." Walter awoke with a sharp pain in the middle of his back and ringing in his ears. He had been injected with a mixture of ketamine, sodium pentothal, and scopolamine. The chemical cocktail subdued harsh flush and strip lighting in a stark white room. He was in a holding cell of sorts, only with luxurious details: leather furniture atop burgundy Persian rugs, flourishing exotic plants, and a floor-to-ceiling fish tank holding tiger sharks. There was one door disguised as a painting with a camera above it. Walter groggily stirred and took in his eccentric surroundings as the shark eyed him through the glass. "Where am I?" he thought to himself. The door swung open and in walked Stennett to focus to glean the truth from his subject. He sat down across from Walter betwixt cigar cacti. "Hello," he greeted Walter. "Hi," Walter responded. Stennett paused and smiled amidst the circling sharks and his drugged captive. "Give it up, Green," Stennett began. "We know what you have been up to. It's time to join the good guys. With your help, nothing can stop us. Not war, not money, not even our enemy. I have a proposition for you. Give us your business and in turn we will give you a new identity. Now this will include rigorous training along with extensive paperwork. However, we're sure you can do it. What do you think?" Green snapped out of an expressionless, drug-induced gaze and nonchalantly asked, "And if I refuse?" Walter couldn't help but recall his nefarious exploits in controlling parts of the world. He had utilized airplanes to deliver mass amounts of anthrax to target countries. He had bribed foreign officials for enemy whereabouts. He took an interest in long-distance, high-power weaponry, and took down many terrorists, albeit some civilians, women, and children. His money was laundered in triplicate to falsify ludicrous income. Stennett was right. Whether it was the drugs injected into Walter's spine, or this keen group of bloodhounds he had fallen into, Walter's empire was over. He felt the truth pour from his body, and his secrets began to unravel. How was it that war and peace needed each other? Could peace not be separated from war? Stennett considered Green's refusal for a brief instant. "Think of it this way. Everything you own, everyone you employ, all of who you are comes to an end. You will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law for narcotics trafficking, Geneva Convention violations, fraud, espionage, and money laundering. And the summation of your criminal activity will indict you for life with no possibility of parole. We have the evidence from an IP address you used to log into your Google account on your smartphone at Starbucks in DC. We gathered it from your button camera footage. Rather helpful, so thank you," he said. Green shifted out of his comfort zone when he realized he was no longer the one in control. Stennett and whatever agency he worked for had power, more than he or anyone he knew could overcome. Certainly seeming impossible was returning to his home and enterprise in China, especially while detained in this godforsaken jail of jails. "Bond to us," Stennett mentioned Green's username for Darknet, an illegal and dark web-based work trading platform. "You know exactly what you are trading, who you are working with, and what it costs you. Not only did we find your connections, we discovered your true identity. Welcome to Spectrum." Stennett smiled as he name-dropped one of the world's most powerful, far-reaching clandestine organizations. Walter awoke to catch the glare of red lights flashing. Horns blared. A man rippling with muscle busted through the door and shouted almost incomprehensibly through a megaphone. "I am Lieutenant Greet. The only words I want to hear out of your mouth are yes, sir, and no, sir. Get up, get up. Time to earn your breakfast. Move it." The instructor, shouting profanities, pointed to a pile of woodland BDUs. Walter put them on while second-guessing everything going on around him. Stumbling outside from a room in the wall, he joined 17 others wearing camouflage. The surroundings looked surreal, urban and forest combined. You have 45 minutes. The peak is there. There you will find further instructions. Go. Walter thought he must have lost consciousness and must have agreed to Senna's ridiculous training program last night or some time ago. What was it called? Spectrum? But he figured this would beat what the courts would throw at him. Being a man of 43, he wasn't exactly in track team shape anymore like he was in high school. Clock's ticking, came the blare of the megaphone next to his ear. Walter looked up to see the rest of the team 50 meters up the mountain. He took off and began sweating almost immediately. Puffing bursts of cold air, the team was in 3 feet of snow at high elevation. They can't give us a spring training, can they? Newman quipped. Walter reached the peak fifth. Another instructor waited at the top and handed out parachutes. After making sure these were securely fastened, he made one command. Jump. Walter jumped over the cliff as training rounds from an AH-10 plane lit up the mountain peak. Everyone jumped. The team was in free fall for 2.5 seconds before pulling the cord and floating down to the other side of the mountain. Lieutenant Green was waiting for them. He raised his megaphone to his lips. The Spectrum base is something to behold. It is so secure that U.S. congressmen and foreign diplomats are known to stay here in times of crisis or just for peace of mind. Encircling the outer perimeter is a 14-foot-high electric fence. The grounds are peppered with proximity mines stocked with experimental and explosive compounds designed to incapacitate an enemy to their sweet dreams. The walls of the compound are a 30-foot-thick amalgam of concrete and titanium. Not even a cruise missile could get through it, and yes, we tested it. You won't notice, but there are microscopic security cameras throughout the base. Those have thermal, infrared, and night vision capabilities. That's it for today, folks. Hit the showers, Greet said. Green found out that there were 2 women on the team when he noticed 2 missing in the showers. I thought what I would do to be with them. Spectrum T5, as they were called, met in the conference room. Stennett, the public liaison, sat at the end of the table. He grinned broadly when the team walked in. Welcome, he began. First and foremost, each of you should know by now that you cannot tell anyone about this and what you are doing, even your family. Now I understand how difficult that can be, but it is an absolute must. Let me tell you why. He did this by hiring a staff and setting up shop in a mansion in China. He would entice top military leaders to eat and stay at his estate, then give them an offer they couldn't refuse. In Green's illustrious career, he acquired an abundance of knowledge all about the world's countries' individual arsenals, including nuclear weapons. Every day, Spectrum trained relentlessly, and many members, including the women, remarked that Spectrum training was much harder than Marine boot camp. These members were actually ex-Marines, and so they trained and became a unified and unstoppable force. Stennett approved of their progress and noticed they were breaking some training records. But of course there was a nit to pick with every teammate, and he had a habit of talking with each of them, especially Green. So you're telling me you didn't kill him, began Stennett. No, replied Green. Then where is Rick Turner? Asked Stennett. He is a POW, a prisoner of war, in Nepal, said Green. Stennett looked puzzled. Explain. Green took a deep breath and started. It wasn't exile, but, well, I had to get him off my trail somehow. So I set up a diversion. An avalanche. My intent wasn't to kill him, but he was closer to the blast than I thought he was. I blame my aging eyes. Anyways, the local mission, Kathmandu, heard the blast, and lo and behold, Turner was the only one around. I had the privilege of becoming a well-renowned and spiritually connected monk, you see. I had the perfect hideaway on my peak. So the soldiers collected him, since it is currently a hostile nation. He was imprisoned on the charge of espionage, and because he had just dropped off the map, he was labeled KIA by the agency. Stennett looked like he was about to say something several times, and then said, Green, how about your next mission is to retrieve Turner? I can't do it alone. I need my team, Green said. Definitely. I'll arrange for pickup at 0500 hours tomorrow morning. We've got to get moving, before something happens, Stennett stated matter-of-factly. Okay, replied Green. The ubiquitous reach of Spectrum unfurled prestigiously. Newman was once a Navy SEAL, and he and Green were co-leaders. They had extensive training under their belts, and for this mission, lethal force was not authorized. This made things harder, according to Newman. The VTOL vertical takeoff and landing Osprey V-22 warship hovered above the drop zone diligently. "Let's make this fast, folks," said Newman as the go light turned green. "Go, go, go." They rappelled down from 100 feet in the air and touched down safely. The Osprey roared away. In the distance, Kathmandu's city light shone bright in the darkening night. The Spectrum soldiers shook them off and caught their breath. The temperature was dropping, and the foliage was beginning to saturate with dew. Newman and Green briefed their team on SOP and how to use their non-lethals effectively. The team moved in a single-file line towards the POW camp, and they hustled down a path between the mountains and the city. Their Osprey had dropped them off in the perfect infiltration point, and exfiltration was in 5 hours regardless. Newman cleared his throat. "All right, we're about a half-mile out. I want everyone to stay frosty." The team made their way past a rural farm, a rice paddy. Their boot made wet sucking sounds in the mud. A couple saw them and ran back inside, shouting. Then they arrived. They squatted down in a remote jungle. "Sleeping gas out," Green ordered his team. The miniature grenades fell softly along the side of the compound, shuddered, and released their contents rapidly with a soft pop. 2 guards who were talking collapsed fast asleep. Even the roof sentry rolled off into the bushes. The team paused, making sure their targets were snoozing soundly. They approached the exterior of the building. Newman took lead this time and gave a hand signal to move to the door. "Hustle in," he said. Green had transformed. He was no longer the happy-go-lucky 2016 MIT graduate. He was a soldier, one of the best. Spectrum's rigorous training had become something that he yearned to embody. The year was 2032, and Green wanted change. He tired of war, the killing and mercilessly taking over the land. He thought constantly about making peace with Spectrum, but that would take more than just words. The people who had taken Turner captive as a POW had also brought him back to health. They gave him small rations and tended to his every need. They showered him often and clothed him in warm but clean peasant robes. Nepalese military leaders implored him for answers about why he was in Nepal, and about who he was. Turner began to refuse meals, until one day, when the help arrived in the form of the world's most elite tactical team, Spectrum. The door splintered into pieces, thanks to Newman's breaching cartridges. Green entered first to see Turner's look of utter surprise. "Green?" exclaimed Turner. "Let's go," replied Green. "We're here to rescue you, and we're on a tight schedule, so no time to dilly-dally." "I thought," Turner trailed off as Newman and Green untied the makeshift bonds. The team refused to explain what was going on until they were safely back at their base in Murmansk and out of a possibly hostile Nepal. Exfiltration went smoothly except for a sheepherder who lost control of her sheep, yelling, "My sheep, my sheep." Soon enough, they were on the plane, headed home. Rick Turner had many questions for this distinguished military outfit. Who are these soldiers? How did they find me? Wasn't Walter a traitor to our country? Baffled, Turner nodded off to sleep despite the turbulence. He awoke to the actuating of the landing gear during the final descent. Team Spectrum made their way off the tarmac into the sprawling secret base. It was snowing a little, and the surrounding mountains mirrored the serene tranquility of a job well done. Newman and Green lit up cigars while the others filtered past them to give Turner some initial questioning and rations. The time was 2200, and it was the kind of night where nothing went wrong all day. Could nothing more go wrong? Every Spectrum team member knew they were in the eye of a storm. Relations with Nepal were tumultuous at best, apparent when Rick Turner was taken hostage. The war for peace had begun.